Hi guys, and welcome to another 8-Bit Wars. Today we're going to be looking at Xenon on the ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPC and of course the Commodore 64. Now then, you're probably thinking, hang on a moment, was Xenon ever on the arcade? Well, actually it was, kind of, in the form of an Arcadia select machine, which was basically an arcade machine by Mastertronic of all people. It had a few different games on it, and one of them was Xenon. And this was running on the Amiga hardware. So that is the version we're going to take a quick look at first of all. Right, so this was one of Bitmap Brothers' very first games. And it's a tough cookie. It's a very hard game on all the formats that I've played. Now then, for me, Bitmap Brother games are a bit hit and miss. I think the Xenon games are probably two of the most playable, and Speedball 2. But most of their games, for me, those more memorable because of the music. Now, the soundtrack on this game is actually by David Whittaker, who was an 8-bit musician who moved on to the 16-bit machines. But the majority of Bitmap Brothers games actually use licensed music, ranging from Betty Boo to Bomb the Bass. Alright, now then, as you can no doubt see, there are two modes that your ship has. One is flight and the other is ground based. Now guys, I want you to pay attention to that music. Obviously this is the Amiga hardware, so the music is going to sound fantastic, but just wait until you hear the other versions. I think you'll be quite surprised at what can be produced on an 8-bit machine. Right, so hopefully you get the general gist of the game. So let's move on to the 8-bit versions. Right guys, so here we have the ZX Spectrum version. This is running on the Spectrum 128K. Right, we've just got to set up the keys. Up, down, left, right, fire and modes. Now then, on the 8-bit versions, or at least on the ZX Spectrum and Amstrad versions, you have to press a different key to change the mode of your ship. On the arcade and on the Amiga and Atari ST versions, you had to waggle your joystick to change modes. This kind of works, but it was a bit hit and miss, and I actually prefer being able to play this on a keyboard where I can just press a key and it changes the mode of the ship. Anyway, on with the game. Now remember guys, I was talking about that music. Take a listen to this. Right, now then, as you can see, it's got monochrome graphics, so unfortunately, and this is a flaw with so many Spectrum games, it's rather hard to see the oncoming bullets. They get lost in the detailed graphics. But it does move at a very, very nice speed. It's got such a fast pace to it. I'm really impressed with the way, if anything, it probably feels a little bit faster than the Amiga version. Take a listen to that music. So yeah, it's a nice looking game. It's just the fact that it's monochrome, which makes everything very hard to see. But as a conversion, I think it holds up rather well. You've got to remember that this game was designed to run on the Amiga and Atari ST, and yet here we have the humble ZX Spectrum producing a very good shooter. But you've just got to have very good eyesight to see what's going on. Right, now this is a mid-level boss. There are 2 bosses on each level. Both are identical, but listen to the boss music. I love the music on this game. I'm taking quite a few hits here. And obviously when you do reach the boss, unfortunately you are forced to stay in ground mode, which is it's kind of slow, so you have to get out of the ship's way rather rapidly sometimes. There is a pattern to its attack though. Right, hopefully this thing will die soon and then we can move on to the other versions. There we go. Right, so let's take a look at the Amstrad version. Okay, so on with the Amstrad version. First thing I've got to say is just moving the ground-based ship about, it just feels a lot slower. Obviously it's got the colour, the graphics are slightly blocky, got a bit of a purple and blue colour layout going on, which is a bit funky, but at least you can see the bullets, which is a very good thing obviously. It just feels very, very slow. Now this conversion is actually by a team or someone that goes by the name of Magic. And they did a few conversions, I believe, and it seemed to me that they're emulating the Spectrum code, but they always gave the game a bit of a graphical makeover. I just wish they could get the game running at a decent pace. Obviously the music is exactly the same as the Spectrum and Atari ST versions, which is a great thing obviously because it is a great soundtrack. It has the same problem with the sound effects causing certain bits of the music to cut out when you're shooting. So yeah, it's not bad, it just feels very sluggish. And just trying to change to the ground-based ship is a nightmare. I'm pressing the button and nothing is happening. Right, let's just try and get to the mid-level boss and see how it copes with a big sprite on the screen. Because this really is chugging quite badly, it seems. Yeah, it's just a lot of purple. I wish I had used a different colour on the actual ship, because the ship does really blend into those purple parts of the background. And I'm pressing M to change. Finally. Let's go back a bit. A bit of a cheat on the Spectrum version. If you've done that and go back, the ground-based stuff will disappear. And yes, it does exactly the same on the Amstrad version, so I'm guessing it is using the same code. Where is that boss? There we go. Right, the ground-based vehicle on the Spectrum version felt slow compared to the Amiga, but this is really, really slow. In fact, the frame rate is terrible because I'm pressing fire and hardly anything is happening. I'm pressing the buttons as fast as I can. You can hear me bashing away at it, and the ship just doesn't fire. 1 bullet, 2 bullets. Oh god. Yeah, this is running like treacle. It's that slow. So yes, nice looking conversion, but it's simply too slow. The game is not responding to me pressing the fire button. Oh dear. Right, enough of that. Let's have a look at the Commodore 64 version. Okay, so the Commodore 64 version. Just moving the ground-based ship about, you can see it runs a lot quicker than the Amstrad version and the ZX Spectrum version. Graphics wise, I've got to admit I'm a bit disappointed. It's rather blocky and the graphics look kind of basic. Also the enemy bullets and even some of these ships here, they seem to get lost in the background. A bit like the Spectrum version, but obviously the Spectrum version's in monochrome. Layout wise, I've got to say this is a lot more faithful to the 16-bit versions, which is obviously a good thing. Sonically, I'm disappointed. The SID chip should be able to do a great rendition of the original music, and this just feels a bit feeble. Parts of it are really good, other parts are not too good. My main gripe is that it's far too easy to accidentally change modes of the ship. You're not pressing a key on the keyboard to change modes this time around. You're wagging the joystick, as I mentioned earlier, just like the 16-bit originals. But it happens a lot more easier. You only have to press left and right. So obviously when you're trying to dodge some of the enemies' oncoming firepower and the actual enemies themselves, you accidentally change modes at times, and this can be so frustrating because obviously it puts you into a lot of trouble at certain times during the game. The game is certainly a lot more challenging. See there, we've just changed to ground mode and I really didn't want to, and it's caused me to die, which, you know, it's a problem. I'm not too sure whether it's worse under emulation, which obviously I'm using an emulator. I'm not too sure how it plays on a real Commodore 64, as I never did play this back in the day, but I'd certainly like to give it a try because it might be a problem with the emulation rather than the actual game, but I can only go on what I'm playing and it is causing a rather big problem with the gameplay. Yeah, if this version controlled slightly better, I really do think this would be the ultimate 8-bit version. Despite it not looking great, you know, it's a very blocky game. It's very playable. As you can see, I've just lost all my lives, but I'm just going to give it another quick go. Because it certainly is one of those games that's got, you know, have another try sort of feeling to it. I would like to try and get to the mid-level boss at least. As much as I've been playing this, I find it very, very hard. It's just a case of memorising where all the enemies are, I guess. See there, we've just changed again to ground-based mode, and it's just so incredibly frustrating. I really should memorise where they're going to appear. Not got much energy. Give it one more try, guys, before I make my mind up. As always, with a lot of these 8-bit conversions, you kind of wish you could have mixed elements of all three, because obviously the Amstrad version you could see the enemy's bullets a lot clearer than on the Spectrum and the Commodore. I think this version, you know, it does play really well. So it is such a shame that, you know, all three versions have got certain problems with them. Probably due to the nature of the hardware. But that's how it goes sometimes, you know. Right, yeah, I think I've had just about enough of this. It's a good conversion, don't get me wrong. But I've got to say, I think I'm going to have to hand this one to the Spectrum. Hopefully that won't upset too many people. I'll try and be as honest as I can with these, and this version's just got one major gripe, and it's with the controls, which affects the gameplay just that little bit too much, I'm afraid, guys. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.